We think of India as this global powerhouse, right? We're launching missions to the moon, our economy is booming. But back here on Earth, there's this shadow we just can't seem to shake. It's a practice so dehumanizing, so fundamentally wrong that we've banned it again and again in our own laws. And yet, it continues, hidden in plain sight, in our biggest cities and our smallest villages. This is the story of manual scavenging, a shameful reality that we as a nation have just failed to stop.
And look, this isn't some old story from the history books. This happened just this year, in January 2025. The Supreme Court of India had to step in, again. And it wasn't some polite suggestion. It was a sharp, clear scolding for the government, basically saying, enough is enough, this has to stop. So you have to ask, right? Why does the highest court in our country have to keep saying the same thing over and over and over again?
And here's where things get, well, completely bizarre. On one hand, you've got the Supreme Court in January not just saying the practice exists, but banning it specifically in our 6 biggest cities. Then you fast forward just a few months to July, and what's the official word in Parliament? No reports of manual scavenging have been received from any state. This massive disconnect, this tale of 2 completely different realities, that's the heart of the problem. It's this denial that lets the horror continue.
So today, we're going to dive deep into this. We'll break down what this practice really is, the terrible human cost, why all the bans seem to fail, and most importantly, what we can actually do to find a path to dignity.
Okay, so first things first. To really get a handle on why this problem is so stubborn, we need to be super clear on what we're even talking about. What is manual scavenging? And how did something so awful become a part of our society to begin with?
So what is it really? I mean, at its most basic level, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's people manually cleaning and carrying human waste. We're not talking about sanitation workers with safety gear and machines. We're talking about human beings using a broom, a tin plate, and very often nothing but their bare hands to clean everything from dry toilets to the sewers running under our cities.
And this isn't just one thing. It happens in so many different ways. In villages, it's cleaning dry latrines that don't have a flush. In our cities, it's workers going down into the toxic mess of sewers and septic tanks. And yes, believe it or not, it's even cleaning human waste off our railway tracks by hand. It's a problem that's deeply tangled up with our lack of proper sanitation infrastructure.
I want you to just try and imagine this for a second. A person with 0 safety gear, no mask, no gloves, nothing, is lowered into a manhole. Imagine standing maybe chest deep in raw sewage, filth, and chemical waste, using just their hands to feel around in the dark for whatever is blocking the pipe, scooping that thick, toxic sludge into a bucket and then carrying it away in a basket on their head. This isn't a story from the Dark Ages. This is happening right now.
So the obvious question is, why on earth would anyone do a job like this? And the answer, almost every single time, has nothing to do with choice. It's about caste. This practice has its roots deep in the injustice of the caste system. Texts like the Manusmriti basically assign this unclean work to communities at the very bottom of the ladder, specifically the Dalits. It was never just a job. It was, and it still is, an inherited prison sentence.
All right, so let's talk about the people themselves, the ones trapped in this vicious cycle. Beyond the definitions, who are the individuals paying the ultimate price for a collective failure?
And if you had any doubt, just look at the data. The numbers here are just staggering. They speak for themselves. Almost 92% of these workers come from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or other backward class communities. This isn't an accident. This is a system. This work is overwhelmingly forced upon Dalit communities. That's not history. That's the reality today.
And it gets even worse. For women, especially Dalit women, it's what experts call a triple burden. They face discrimination for their caste, for their gender, and for being poor. They often do the most invisible kind of work, like cleaning dry latrines in private homes, which makes them even more vulnerable. And the real kicker? Most of them aren't even officially registered. They're ghosts in the system. A recent survey found that only 6.5% of these women were on any official list to get help. Just think about that.
Let's be very clear. This isn't just a degrading job. It's a deadly one. In 2024 alone, 116 people died on the job. That's 116 families who lost a father, a son, a brother. They went to work and just never came back home.
The Supreme Court knows how dangerous this is. They've ordered a compensation of 30 lakh rupees for every single death because the state has failed to protect them. It's supposed to be an admission of that failure.
Now hold that 30 lakh figure in your mind, and then look at this, 2,000 rupees. That's what one man died for while cleaning a block sewer. The gap between those two numbers tells you everything you need to know about the value placed on these human lives. It's just sickening.
And look, even if you survive the day-to-day, the long-term cost is just devastating. The immediate risk is dying from poisonous gases like methane in a confined space. But even if that doesn't get you, there's a constant risk of infections like cholera and typhoid. And over a lifetime, their bodies are destroyed by skin diseases, breathing problems, and crippling damage to their muscles and bones. It's not a job, it's a slow death sentence.
Okay, so this leads to the biggest question of all, doesn't it? If this is so awful, so deadly, and we've had laws against it for decades, why is it still happening? The answer lies in a combination of systemic failures and just plain denial.
I mean, seriously, let's just pause and think about this for a second. We have laws. We have multiple Supreme Court orders. So what is so fundamentally broken in our system that allows this to continue in the 21st century?
This timeline, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? It's a story of decades of empty promises. The first law was passed way back in 1993, a stronger law in 2013. In 2014, the Supreme Court called it a violation of the right to life. And here we are in 2025, with the court issuing another ban. We're great at passing laws, we just seem to be terrible at actually following through. A huge part of the problem, you see, is the infrastructure itself. Out of 766 districts in the country, only 508 are officially manual scavenging free. That means a third of our country literally still has the kind of sanitation systems that require this horrific practice to exist. Without fixing the pipes and the toilets, the laws are just words on a paper.
So when you put it all together, it's pretty clear the whole system is just broken. It starts with official denial, states just claiming the problem doesn't exist. Then the laws that do exist are never enforced. Hardly anyone ever gets punished for hiring a manual scavenger. The rehabilitation schemes are a joke, underfunded and badly run. And even if someone manages to escape, the stigma of caste follows them, making it almost impossible to find another job. It's a trap with multiple locks.
But look, it doesn't have to be this way. We can't just talk about the problem, we have to talk about the solutions. How do we go from empty promises to actual real-world action and finally give these people a life of dignity?
When you lay it out like this, the choice is, well, it's not really a choice at all, is it? On one side, you have something that is degrading, deadly, and cost us so much in lives and national shame. On the other, you have a solution that upholds dignity, is safe, and is actually cheaper in the long run. There's also clear accountability. This isn't just about efficiency, it's a moral imperative.
So what's the game plan? It really comes down to 5 key things. 1. Enforce the law, strictly. Punish the people who employ manual scavengers. 2. Technology. We have Indian-made robots like the Homo Sep that can do this job. Let's use them. 3. Infrastructure. We need a mission mode plan to fix our sewers and get rid of every single dry latrine. 4. Real rehabilitation. Not just a token payment, but proper skills training, education for kids, and financial support to start a new life. And 5, and this is maybe the hardest part, fight the stigma. We need massive public campaigns to change the mindset of our entire society.
And in the end, it all boils down to one simple but massive question. Our Constitution guarantees every single citizen the right to a life with dignity. But for generations, that right has been a complete fiction for an entire community. The question for all of us is, can we as a nation finally make that promise a reality for everyone, not just on paper, but in real life? To understand this topic in more detail, we've prepared extensive notes and a quick revision mind map. Just click the link in the description to visit our website and access them. Thank you for watching.